Hi everybody, it's crazy, it's Monday, and it's time for the FBGE video of the week. Now before I get started, gotta give a special shout out to my wife. I love you, happy anniversary. Also, shout out to my trusted, cause you guys rock, and to my crazy fam, I love you guys. Alright, so we're up to episode number 124. We left off last week on page 50, if I can do this right. Yes, I did it right. Alright, so using the game engine API, the application programming interface. Okay, that's where we left off last week. If you were following along, you should be having this file. It's actually the walkthrough for the walkthrough for final part of the this chapter or this part, and you should be doing the walkthrough blend on that one. If you don't have the book or the files, link is in the description. Make sure you get the files. Make sure you get the book because it does help to follow along. If you're just following along and you're keeping up with me, hey, great, you're doing way better than I did. All right, so let's get started. All right, so the game engine API is a bridge connecting your Python scripts with your game data. Through those modules, methods, and variables, you can interact with your existent logic bricks, game objects, and general game functions. The official documentation can be found online in the Blender Foundation website. Okay, I believe it's changed because it's no longer 2.66 and it's actually 3.1 or 3.2 now. I'm not sure exactly, but this is what we're using is the older version of Blender, which is 2.79.7. So if you're wanting to run with the new Blender, you'll have to change a little bit of things. I had a few questions and comments previously asking about that. You just got to know what you got to switch and how you got to switch them. Some things, the variables have changed or the keys have changed or something. So you just have to, actually I would go into the UPBGE server and ask them. You can ask in their server or you can ask at the Blender, the actual Blender server. They do the same. But if you want to get more on that, links are in the description. Check them out. Okay, you can holler at them on Discord. Or you can go to their webpage. All right, so we will now walk through the highlights of the modules. After you are familiar with their main functionality, you should feel comfortable to navigate the documentation and find other resources. Okay, so now what we're going to work on is game engine internal modules. Okay, these are the modules that come with Blender or Blender Game Engine. Okay, and I'm gonna switch over here to where you can see them. Okay, you've got game logic, which is bge.logic, game types, bge.types, rasterizer, which is bge.render, because your rasterizer is your render. Okay, game keys, bge.events. Try to say that 5 times fast. Video texture, bge.texture. Physics constraints, bge.constraints. Application data, which is bge.app. And that's a to-do, but I'm pretty sure they had that fixed. Okay, you got standalone modules, which are audio system, which is AUD. Math types and utilities, which is mathutils. OpenGL wrapper, which is BGL, Blender GL, OpenGL. Okay, and font drawing, which is BLF. Okay, which means Blender font. Okay, so we're going to go through each and every one of these as you see logic, game logic here, and as you see down here, game logic. So I'm going to flip over to here because I'm just going to read, and my speed may be different than yours. If it is, my apologies. I am slow reader. Okay, but I will read it out, and we'll follow along and see how well we can do. Okay, so the first one is bge.logic. The main module is a mix of utility functions, global game settings, and logic bricks. Logic bricks replacements, okay? Some of those functions were already covered in the tutorial, but they are here again for convenience sake. We will look at some of the highlights, okay? So get current controller, and if you're looking at the files that you can get, okay, or in the file that we have. So again, it's not on that one. Let's go to one of them so you can see what they're talking about. Okay. All right. So get current scene, okay, and there's also get current controller. Okay, about the same right here. There is one that says it, but I don't see it anywhere. Let's try the other one. Nope. Okay, so it's not that one. Okay, so the camera navigation is the one that has it. All right, but this one opens a scene, but the other one, the controller, opens a controller. It points to a controller, okay? So controller equals bge.logic.get current controller. Then your next one is object equals controller owner. Okay, and then you got sensor equals controller.sensors my sensor. Okay, so basically when you have logic bricks, like this one should have, but it's not. Okay, if I put logic bricks on this, okay, this is your sensor. Sensor equals controller.sensors my sensor. So you would actually name this my sensors, or you would put my sensor, okay, whatever the sensor is, which would be this name right here that they gave it, okay, as the and in place of the my sensor. Okay, so you don't have to name it my sensor. Okay, you can name it anything you want. You can name it Hillbilly Joe. It really doesn't matter. Okay, that is just pointing to it, but you have to name it here as well. So if you name it in the the Python language, you got to make sure you name it here as well if you're connecting it to a sensor. Same thing with the controller, okay, which is this one right here. If you want to name the controller, you're going to have the name of it, okay? But it's just getting logic and getting the current controller. So if you have an AND controller here, it's just looking for that AND controller or the Python controller, okay? A lot of times, it's just looking for a Python controller to write from, okay? All right, the object controller.owner, which is whatever you're on. I mean, the camera is an object. Okay, so that right there is saying, okay, the camera is the controller of it, which is the controller here, okay, which is this little guy here, all right, is this owner. It's owned by this, okay? If you are using Python modules instead of Python scripts directly, see Python controller. The controller is passed an argument for the function, okay? So example, def, I'll switch over here to 7 real quick so you see. Define module function cont, okay? Now, if you remember, up here, we usually put cont as the controller type, okay? So we name cont, and then we go, the object is controller owner, okay? Because that's right here, okay? Object equals controller owner, cont owner, okay? It's just abbreviated. These are variables that you name yourself, but you have to name it this, okay? You can name this cont, okay, because it equals this, but you can't change this, okay? Whenever you name it a controller, okay, now the controller show up here and will show up here, okay? You have to name that. If you name this cont, okay, and erased all this, you'd have to have cont and erase all this. Get what I'm saying? A lot of people don't understand that, and it confuses them. That the variable, you can name whatever you want, okay? Your sensors, you can name them as long as they're in that, that you actually have the right sensor. You have to have that sensor name here instead of my sensor, okay? This has to be there, okay? This is a part of the bge.logic function, okay? So you have to have this information to make it identify the controller. But this name can be anything you want. You can call it Jim Bob. Who cares, right? Because all you're going to do is put Jim Bob right here and Jim Bob right there. Okay? Object, you can put OBJ. There's a lot of programmers that put OBJ. Okay? As long as this variable is the same for everything else. Okay? You can type sen if you want sensor. Okay? A lot of people put sense, 4 digit. Okay? Either which way, variables, you can name anything you want. Okay, programming logic and program, things that have to be set with a dot are specific. Okay, owner can be owned. Okay, but you have to identify the own. Oops, where's it at? You have to identify the own. Okay, to make it just regular own, to shorten it. Whenever you define the owner of the object, which in a lot of times you will do, okay, it will pop up. All right, so get current scene. This is our next one, okay? This function returns the current scene the script was called from. The most common usage is to give you a list of all the game objects. For object in bge.logic.getCurrentScene.object, print object, okay? So this is your variable. Could be anything you want. But Billy Bob Thornton right here, okay? Not here, okay? This is based on something else, okay? So what you're saying is for every object in this logic set or the scene, because it's looking for the current scene, okay, the scene's objects, okay, then it's going to print them out, each object, okay. So whenever you're doing get current scene is important. You know, there's some people that, you know, do it to where get current scene is shorthanded. You know, they call it scenes, like over in, let's see if I can do it. There we go. Okay, over in here, g.scenes. So it's gonna say main g.current.scenes is what this is looking for. Okay, so whenever you're calling it g scenes. You can call it gbob, and it'll be gbob right here. You have to put gbob. You have to remember where you put these variables. These variables are very important. Okay, they're important by functionality, not by name. Okay. Let's switch back over to here. Oops. Yeah. Nope, didn't do it right. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, so expand path. If you need to access an external file, an image, video, Blender, etc., okay, you can find, you need to first get its absolute path in the computer. Use single dash to separate folders and double dash if you need to refer to the current folder. Okay, so a single folder or a single backslash, okay, to separate folders, okay, and a double slash if you need to refer to the current folder. Okay, so video underscore absolute underscore dot path equals bge.logic.expand path, and now you're going to put the path in here. You're going to put a, you know, a quote, forward slash because you're looking for videos. Okay, also within that directory you're looking for video 1, okay, .oog. Okay, all right, so send message and add scene, start, restart, and end game. These functions copy the functionality of existing actuators. They are Python replacements. For those global events when you need a direct way to call them, bypassing the logic bricks. Okay. libload, libnew, libfree, and liblist. This is the one I've always had a problem with because I just couldn't understand the context because it threw me off. But it's one I gotta learn. I'm going to learn it. Okay, so there are cases when you need to load the content of an external Blender file at runtime. This is known as dynamic loading. The game engine supports dynamic loading of actions, meshes, or complete scenes. The new data blocks are merged into the current scene and behave just like internal objects. Okay, so that would be bge.logic libload. Okay, and then you're going to put // because current folder, and you're looking for entities.blend, and then you're going to name it scene. Okay, it's going to be that scene because you're using a scene. Beware of lamps. New lamp objects can be dynamically loaded from external files. However, in GLSL mode, they will not work as a light source for the material shaders, since the shaders would need to be recompiled for that. Okay, just a a little thing about lamps. Okay, so global dict, which is global dictionary, load global dictionary, and save global dictionary. Now this is a dictionary file, okay, and it's a global dictionary. Okay, so the bge.logic.globaldict is a Python dictionary that is alive during the whole game. It's a game place to store data if you need to restart the game or load a new file or level. and need to save some properties. In fact, you can even save the global dictionary, with the Blender file during the game and reload later. Okay, so you got global.logic.global dictionary password equals kidding. Kids never save your passwords in files. Okay, so just kidding. Never save your password in files. That's what they put as their password. Okay, BGE.logic.save global dictionary, which is save global dictionary externally. So you're saving it somewhere else. Okay, BGE.logic.load global dictionary will replace the current global dictionary with the saved one. Okay. Alright, I don't know why it has that on there, but okay. Alright, so now your keyboard. Okay, you can do keyboard as well. You can handle all the keyboard inputs directly from a script. The usage and syntax are very similar to the keyboard sensor. You need a script running every logic tick. Always sensor pulsing with a frequency of 0 or every time a key is pressed. Keyboard sensor will with all keys set. Say that 5 times fast. All right, keyboard sensor with all keys set, where you can read the status of all the keys in the bge.logic.keyboard events dictionary. If instead of inquiry for the status of the particular key, example, if spacebar is pressed, you want to list all of the pressed keys, you can use the dictionary bge.logic.keyboard.active_events. The keys for both event dictionaries are the same. The keys for both event dictionaries are the same you use with the keyboard sensor. See the bge.events module. The status of each key, whether it is pressed, released, or kept pressed, or nothing, is the value stored in the dictionary. The keys values are defined in the bge.logic module itself. Okay, so for example, keyboard equals bge.logic.keyboard. Space_status equals keyboard.events bge.events.space_key. Okay, so that's saying, okay, anytime something is done with the space bar, we need to know. Okay, so if the space status, okay, or the space bar, okay, status equals, which is equals, bge.logic.kx_input_just activated, okay, means that it was pressed, okay, print space key was just pressed. Okay, so whenever you hit the space key, it's going to say, okay, it was pressed. Hey, we're going to print this out now. Okay, that's all it's saying. Okay, elif, which means also. Okay, space status equals bge.logic.kx_input.active. Okay, it's going to say, if that's true, it's going to say print space key is still pressed. So if you're still holding that, it's still saying it is pressed still. Okay, also elif, okay, space status equals bge.logic input just released. So when you release the key, it's going to print, say, space key was just released. So as you press this, it'll continue to do so. Now, if, elif, okay, if the bge.logic.kx_input_none, you just pass. Excuse me. Oh, anywho. All right. So where are we at? We're at 19 minutes, so I did about 20. So I'm going to finish this little bit right here up here, and we'll go with the mouse next week, okay? So a simple file can be seen at book chapter 7, 5 game keys, key_detector_python.blend. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to switch back over here. We're going to come up here. We're going to go to open, and we're going to say we're going to hit back 1. Okay, we're going to hit back again. Now we're going to go down here to 5, which is game keys, okay? And it said to go to key detector Python. So key detector Python.blend. This is the one you want, okay? All right, so this is the key detector. If you hit play right now, okay, oh, a key was pressed. Okay, I don't know why it doesn't do anything else. Okay, so it says press any key. So if you press a key, no matter what it is, okay, the number key is 39. Okay, it was the Q key. The character is Q, and the status is 3. Okay, so that's a pretty neat one to try to play with. Go ahead, play with it a little bit and see what you how much fun you can have with it. Okay, this shows the more Python-centric way of handling keyboard. For the classic method of using a keyboard sensor, look further in this chapter into the BGE.events section. Okay, so what they're talking about is down in here, you can actually have the keyboard sensor here. You have the keyboard sensor, but it's using this script right here. Okay, so that's where we're going to end off. It's at the top of page 54. Okay, let me, boop, boop, there we go. Okay, top of page 54, and we're going to leave off with the mouse. Okay, we're going to continue on with what we were doing, which is, let me if I can get back up here. Okay, we're doing the, get back up here, I'm sorry for the wait. Okay, game engine internal modes. Okay, we continue on with engine internal modes. Okay, mouse, which is 54, and we'll see y'all next week.